If you Can I go, sir?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Oh, Pankaj ji, thank you. Welcome, Pankaj, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for.
So it is our pleasure that we'll
I'm
wait for
really,
just
I'm really thankful to you, sir, for always inviting me.
just we'll wait for just 2 3 minutes, sir. We'll just start.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Sir, what I understand, the session is from 3 to 5, and three of us are the speaker today. Correct, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
So approximately 30 to 35 minutes or so is good enough. 30 to 35 minutes for each. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
you are right, sir. You are right. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Oh, 40 minutes maximum. You can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Vivek here.
Yeah, Vivek is going to talk on medical legal after you,
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
and Venkatesh is also.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Venkatesh.
Thank you, sir.
Nahuel is there? Or?
Sir was there. For few minutes
Okay.
back, I saw Kanavil sir was there.
Okay, okay. Because I was held up today, so I just asked him to be
No,
there.
sir,
But
I
then,
joined. I saw. I
okay,
could see his
okay,
login some time back.
okay. Then I think already quite a lot of people have joined, so we'll
Yeah.
start with the program.
Yes, sir.
So welcome and good afternoon to this third day of our online session. We are thankful to all the faculties who have done the last 2 days class and all the participants who has attended there. I think it was really fabulous because we had the top-notch experts on the field of bioethics could talk to us. Today again, it is going to be a very important day because we have going to have the three important lectures. All are very very essential in the terms of bioethics and ethical concern. You know, Professor Dr. Pankaj Shah is the HOD of the community medicine in the our SRM Ramachandra Medical College. Is not only the HOD of that, and he is one of the expert and Diane in the field of research and ethics in research and community oriented clinical works. And it is more than the ethic, more than the individual when it comes to the hospital based or community based and how it is going to be effectively implemented or impacted is one of the very famous lectures, and he is the most sought after faculty for the topics on ethics and other community related works. So it is our fortune that amidst his very busy schedule, Pankaj sir has agreed to be with us and give a talk on the ethics which concern to the research. As again, the second speaker, as we have told yesterday, when we are talking about ethics and another area which is governing us is a legal law. That is also very important, and we should understand the law and ethics. There are certain things which are accepted by law, but ethics may not accept is the right thing. Equally, it is reverse. Certain things which are accepted ethically right, maybe it is legally not right. We know that the abortion, which is being done up to 28 weeks, it is a legally accepted one. But many people, based on their rituals and religious pattern, say ethically they don't accept doing an abortion. So there are differences between law and ethics, which and how the law is going to govern us will be talked by Dr. Vivek Madi. He's a physician turned lawyer, so we will be able to see the both the sides of the coin through his lecture. Third is my favorite, one of the very dynamic, enthusiastic youngster. We groomed him in Indian Medical Association as a medical student person, now JDN person. Now he is an international leader in research and publication, and one of the very, very effective youngster, which I am saying representing India in the World Medical Association, Commonwealth Medical Association, and many other area. He is from Dr. Venkatesh Karthikeyan is a senior resident in the AIMS Patna, but he has published quite a lot of papers, and he is going to talk to on one of the areas of very, very, very area very gray area was the publication. As the faculties, as the professors, and in the India today, we are seeing a lot of papers are retrieved because of the false data and false things which are coming in the books. So, what are the ethics governing us in the publication, and how we are going to do that will be dealt with Dr. Karthikeyan, Venkatesh Karthikeyan. So, I welcome all the three eminent speakers on behalf of the Commonwealth Medical Association, and I am sure, and the delegates will be definitely will be much benefited by this excellent lectures of this caliber. So I now request Professor Pankaj Shah to start his talk on the basis of the research ethics. Sir. Welcome to Pankaj sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jailal sir. Always admiring us and encouraging us, and you are our true inspiration, along with Mishra sir, Kanagvel sir, and finally Russell sir, who is all there to guide us. And I'm really happy that you have taken a topic, ethics and bioethics, which is majority of the time is a neglected topic, probably done somewhere in the corner of a conference, and probably nobody is aware. You are the top leaders who have really helped us in our learning. Thank you very much, sir. And
Thank you,
thank you,
sir.
the whole team, sir. I will just switch off my video just to make the better connectivity and audio. And I hope my slides are visible in the form of a PDF file, which I'm going to run slide by slide. Um,
Yeah, fine,
uh,
sir. Fine.
Thank you, sir. The topic given is ethics in research, but I thought slightly modification is required because we are in an era where COVID-19 pandemic just went, and we are in another era where AI is going to take us. Many things, unfortunately, today people do left, right, center with artificial intelligence actually may not fit in the era of correct ethical practices in AI. So just with this smart introduction, thank you. I am also Associate Dean Research and Professor in the Department of Community Medicine, SRMC. I am also taking care of Ethics Committee at Shihar as RAC Member Secretary. Now, if you see, there are basically few guidelines which are released by ICMR. And when we are doing any project, it is always better to follow ICMR guidelines, Central Licensing Authority guidelines when we look at clinical trials, and also international guidelines as and when applicable. Uh, the ICMR came out with 2017, the National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical and Health Research involving human participant. This is an upgrade guideline of 2006, which was earlier there. And if you see, the major difference in the title of the guideline itself has come. It says involving human participant. Earlier, the involving word was not there. That means there is a voluntary participation in the research, and it was classically called as human subject. In 2017, it was a predominantly title change with the participation. That means all the human beings which are participating in our study has to be voluntary in nature, and their close coordination, close informing, all the aspects in the informed consent is very, very important. First time in 2017, also guidelines involving children came. That means anybody who is working with pediatric population, in addition to the adult guideline, also classically need to read the guidelines for children. In 2019, all these guidelines along with the new drugs and clinical trials rules got gazetted, and once they are gazetted, that means they are legal framework and not merely just guideline. And there were important changes which were brought in 2019. The classical change was registration of ethics committee member, and also in COVID, we utilized emergency authorization. That was one of the classical thing which really these rules helped us to mobilize those emergency authorization of various drugs and vaccines. Then during 2019, since COVID pandemic was there, the ICMR came out with national guideline for ethics committee reviewing the proposal, and online informed consent and online ethics committee meeting permission was granted, and some minor changes also brought into picture. As 2023 came, artificial intelligence came into picture. Chat GPT was commonly available to a normal lay person or a common person, though the artificial intelligence came since very long time, but available to a common man was really important when chat gpt came, and now almost everywhere AI is there. Most important, when we look at the scientific research, we need to be very very careful with the generation of ideas, generation of proposals, how the AI is used. Then we also need to understand about the wearable devices. Now I am wearing a watch today. That watch has pulse, has a oxygen saturation parameter, as well as the ECG recording. Who has validated this? And really, it correctly identifies when it required and contacts my family member or the doctor. The validation of these wearable devices also plays an important role, and those guidelines came in 2023. And over the years, from 2023 to 2026, as publications are increasing, and many times unfortunately the AI is being used for publication ethically and irresponsibility. The false citations are coming, the false paragraphs are written, and people are creating publication after publication using the AI. So a lot of unethical practices are coming up, and as sir was telling, that a lot of articles are getting retracted because of the AI use, which is not officially and properly disclosed, unethical use of AI, and also the fake citation. AI has a concept of something called as hallucination. Like any student who understands poorly, unfortunately, may give a wrong answer. Same way, AI behaves in a similar fashion to give a fake answers, fake reply, depending on whatever best understanding the AI has at that moment of time. So now we do not say that AI should not be used, but AI should be used ethically and responsibly. Now, just to understand the basics, what is the meaning of ethics? Ethics is nothing but what is right and wrong, and it comes from our habits. And it is a system and code which is for particular region, group, or profession. As we say, uh, as we say, what is required for medical ethics. I think we need to mute the person who's speaking.
Please, other delegates, please mute yourselves. Mute your.
No problem. So as I was telling you, 2006 was one of the time when the ethical guideline for biomedical research on human participant came. Also, there was a guideline for stem cell research, since a lot of changes happened over a period of time where biotechnology came into picture, the disaster used to came into picture, and lot of guideline from 2006 to 2017 in the technology has happened. The new guideline was required, and ICMR came out with this guideline for adults, for children first time, and also stem cell research. And now currently when the stem cell it comes into the picture, few years back, whenever a stem cell study was there, the ethics committee approval was required, and stem cell committee approval was also required. But now, probably thinking that the stem cell research is reasonably stabilized in the country, probably because of that reason, ICMR has given the mandate of approving stem cell research also with the ethics committee, where two members can be the expert in stem cell research, and there is no separate need for going to the stem cell committee. As I was telling you, in COVID, 6th May 2020, the COVID guideline came, which gave the approval for online ethics committee meeting, as well as online informed consent. As you see, a lot of guidelines are revising, and 100% guidelines will keep revising as and when the new issues and new technology comes up. But the four basic principle of ethics, which were probably told even yesterday and day before yesterday, will not be challenged. And those are autonomy, that respect for every person, do only good, do not do harm, and there should be a distributive justice. That means everybody has an equal chance of participating in the research, as well as the benefit out of which is the outcome of the research. There are certain general principles, and if you see, these general principles are there, the common sense. That means the study has to be done when it is essential in nature. The human participant has to be a voluntary participation. There should not be any exploitation of the participation. Privacy and confidentiality has to be maintained very well, especially when the data is going to be shared with multiple centers or multiple countries. The anonymous data should be there. Whenever the photographs are taken, we have to make sure the identity is not revealed. Just by closing the eyes doesn't mean that the person cannot be identified. The complete face of has to be blurred, and so many other aspects of the privacy and confidentiality has to be maintained. We need to take enough precaution and risk minimization so that there is no harm happening, and we have to be professional competent. Say for example, there is a clinical trial or there is a study on surgery, and being from community medicine, I am not professionally competent to handle that trial or that study as a principal investigator. I can probably a co-investigator with my knowledge in methodology and research ethics, etc., but principal investigator and the research team has to have the professional competence of varieties of nature which is required for conducting that study. Accountability is very, very important. Like all of us as a physician practice, we need to be accountable. Same way we need to have a lot of accountability towards our human participant and the research ethics and all the governing guidelines which are there. Though we repeatedly call it as guidelines, these guidelines are actually legally gazetted in 2019 regulations and hence are legally binding. Recently, ICMR also has come out with a multi-center study how a single ethics committee can review those proposals, and then there is a collaboration between the single ethics committee and the other ethics committee of various centers, so that they can have good accountability and discussion among them, and all the delays which may occur because of the people and the proposals going to multiple center ethics committee, and that delay can be avoided. Transparency is very, very important, and one of the important aspects of transparency is having those documents, protocols, informed consent on public domain. One of the classical thing is a clinical trial registry of India. When it started clinical trial, it was synonymous to clinical trial of USA or clinical trial.gov. But as we move on, we realize that over a period of time, the clinical trial registry also registered all kind of experimental studies wherever there are experiments and plan, not only with the drug trials or vaccine trial, but also with respect to nutritional studies, with respect to educational studies, all kind of experimental studies need to be now registered with CTRI of India. We have to look at the maximizing of public interest, and again give a importance to distributive justice. That means each and every participant can participate in the study voluntarily with due informed consent process, and also can get benefit of the outcome irrespective of the religion, caste, the living cost, and the earning, etc., etc. When multiple organizations come into picture, classical example during COVID when ICMR and Bharat Biotech came into picture, or multiple organizations came into picture for clinical trials of COVID, institutional arrangements are very, very important. And everybody has to take totality of the responsibility, and we have to have compliance with all guidelines. Though all guidelines are similar for all the people, but there are certain people who are vulnerable in nature. Say, for example, pregnant females and the lactating mothers. Studies will be permitted only in this group if the study relates to their primary health or disease, and cannot be permitted if the same study can be done in adult males or adult females or other kind of human participants. Same way, the study among the children can be permitted only if it is a primary disease of the children. If the same study can be done in adults, naturally those studies will not be permitted. And whenever children are involved, we need to make sure we need to have an informed consent from the parent or the legal guardian. Till 18 years we count them as a children, and more than 18 years they are adult and they can give informed consent. When it comes to less than 18 years, from 0 to 7 years, the legal guardian or parent consent is enough. From 7 to 12 years, in addition to legal guardian or parent consent, also the child verbal assent is required, saying that the parents have agreed and child also verbally agrees to participate in the study. When the children are from 12 to 18 years, in addition to parent or legal guardian consent, the child written assent is required. The child also gives permission and signs on the written assent form that is okay with the particular study. In addition, there are many vulnerable communities, people in prison, people who are subordinates to various organizations, the staff, employees, students. There are n number of vulnerable individuals and communities are there, and we need to take care whenever the research is planned. It's the responsibility of both principal investigator research team as well as the ethics committee. Again, to emphasize, the privacy and confidentiality has to be maintained, and conflict of interest is very, very important. It is not probably wrong, if you don't mistake me, not having or having the conflict of interest. Many times the problem arises because people do not disclose their conflict of interest, and the whole problem arises. As we need to understand, any research proposal which is are coming under the banner of research has to be reviewed by ethics committee or institutional review board. Classically in India we talks about ethics committee. Now in India, ethics committee can be either registered with DHR ICMR or can be registered with Central Drug Authority, DCGI, or that is Central Licensing Authority, and the registration is mandatory after regulations of 2019. And we need to understand initial DHR ICMR gives a temporary registration of 2 years, and then once the 2 year registration is over and there are no major issues, then 5 years permanent registration is granted. Without registration, the ethics committee cannot function. All ethics committee proposals have to be reviewed by ethics committee, though there can be certain exception, and classical exception can be a single patient case report, or maybe 3 4 patient case series, or data coming from bioinformatics where all the data is available in the form of anonymized in the public domain websites, or we do systematic review and meta-analysis with respect to published articles. Then in those cases, uh, ethics committee approval not required, but it is always requested that all principal investigators should contact the ethics committee people and find out what are the latest updated guidelines, because it may not be possible for any or IRBs to protect dignity, rights, and well-being of the participant, ensure universal ethical values, and is educating the research community. And finally, whenever they are asking questions, don't take it wrongly. Take those questions positively. Their primary purpose is improving the standard of the proposal to make it more scientific and more ethics. Though we say ethics committee, anything which is unscientific is also unethical in nature. Hence, you do not worry and take it positively when they also question about the scientific aspect, because anything which is unscientific is also unethical in nature. Now, as we said, we have IEC, classically being the term used. In foreign countries, they use IRB also. Many institutions have scientific committee where they exclusively look in detail for scientific committee review. As I was telling you about the multi-center study where ICMR has recently come out a new guideline, they have emphasized there only if there is thorough scientific review committee review happened, then only a single IEC can take care of multi-center study. Otherwise, it is not possible. The challenging aspect here is scientific committee approval is okay, or ethics committee approval as per legal norms. Without ethics committee approval, the person, the PI cannot start the study. Ethics committee approval is mandatory. There may be institutions where you may need to have multiple ethics committee for taking care of them. It is a multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral committee. 8 to 12, maximum 15 can be there. Always it is an odd number, chairperson from outside, member secretary from same institution, and there are mix of medical, non-medical, scientific and non-scientific person. And with 2019 rules, it is mandatory that more than 50% of the members has to be outside. So if I have 15 members, I will always like to have 9 or 10 members from outside and remaining members only from inside, so that it satisfies the guideline of more than 50% of the people from outside. Each ethics committee need to have its own SOP. There should be a deadline for the meeting and deadline for submission of the proposal. Please give 15-20 days at least for ethics committee to review a proposal which will improve the scientific and ethical aspects. Before this clinical trial rules came, earlier there was a Schedule Y of Drug and Cosmetic Act. Though we say is a drug trial or clinical trial, vaccine trial, but other aspects of surgical procedures, medical devices, diagnostic agents are also included in this domain of clinical trial. Trial with herbal remedies are also part of the clinical trial rules. Herbal remedies can be used in a two ways. One is we use as it is classically described in those ancient literature of India, or it can be modified chemically, processed in the lab, and probably made a tablet or liquid or some nutritional product. That is another way. In this both the situations, we need to understand difference. When we use in the ancient way, naturally it is an probably a time tested product, and we need to review it is in a clinical trial in a different form compared to a extract which is prepared from this herbal remedy. And necessary aspects of the new and clinical trial rules of 2019 has to be followed. As we were talking about ethics committee, there is also an animal ethics committee. As you are aware, before any drug is tried among humans, there are animal studies are being done. And now with AI coming into picture, lot of drugs and their binding proteins and the targets can be easily find out with the artificial intelligence. And the next level, when the animal studies are planned, lot of AI models of the animals are also being taken out to preserve and conserve those animals. But still, some aspect of the study may be required to be done among animals, and to take care, animal ethics committees are required which take care of animal ethics aspect, and there are separate rules and regulation for animal ethics committee approval. As I was talking about earlier, there was a stem cell committee, and now stem cell committee responsibility is with ethics committee. We need to have a IEC form application. Now all committees needs to follow ICMR approved ethics committee for submission form. There should be a protocol, there should be informed consent, there should be a data collection tool, and annexure which makes the whole bunch. Annexure includes necessary permission letters for the institutional authorities, or we are using some kind of scales questionnaire, their permission etc needs to be required. We will not go into detail in the protocol, but protocol has to be well written. It has to be scientifically sound. As I told you, anything which is unscientific is also unethical in nature. Sample size, the methodology, the kind of epidemiological studies, kind of the lab requirement, lab studies, cell line studies, all those technical aspect has to be correctly written. And as you know, when we had a COVID, there was a big issue of COVID patients coming into multiple studies, and those kind of rationalization also needs to be taken care. No ethics committee approval has to be in future tense because the study is not started. No ethics committee can give you approval once the data collection process is started. So please, all of you, convey this message to all your people, your students, and the colleagues, that please make sure ethics committee approval is obtained before the study data collection is started. Some people have a misnomer that when they do a conference presentation in oral or poster in a conference, they don't need ethics committee approval. No, there also they need to obtain the ethics committee approval in advance, because that also involves some amount of results data analysis and all. So my request is, please obtain ethics committee approval before any oral or poster presentation in a conference, or before sending any publication. Sometimes people find their sample size is very less and they use the word pilot study. It is totally wrong. If we go to a article which is published in a BMC research methodology, where the definitions of pilot study is given, a pilot study does not mean a small sample study, but it is a study where we are looking at the feasibility, the practicality, if the things are going to happen in a correct way. That is only pilot study. Informed consent is another important pillar. After ethics committee, we have to make sure we communicate with them properly, all the things are informed. It has to be a written informed consent. As we discussed, 0 to 7 years children, parent consent; 7 to 12, oral assent plus parent consent; and 12 to 18 years, written assent from the child and parent consent, and all adults have to give the adult consent. Even sometimes we need to consent of two people. Say for example, there is a study in infertility, then we'll request for a informed consent from both husband and wife. Suppose a person is under depression, person is in an emergency ward where they are not able to give the informed consent properly. In such a scenario, even informed consent from the caregiver is very, very important. Informed consent has to have a complete in detail, which has to be prepared in English as well as in local language. And the language of that informed consent should be of a fifth standard child, which can be easily understood and should not be in technical detail, which describe the purpose of the study, duration, investigation, methods involved, what we are going to do, what benefits are going to happen, what policy on compensation if something goes wrong, what are the treatments available, alternatives, benefit, commercialization, contact details of all important people in the study. And it has to make very clearly that it is a voluntary participation. If that particular patient denies the informed consent, the medical treatment or surgical treatment should not be compromised. Whenever genetics and HIV kind of specific things are being involved, specific guidelines of those things should also be there. Many times people collect the lab samples or some kind of samples and they want to store the sample. Now, storage of the sample can occur for two aspects. I'm storing the sample because I cannot process all the samples together. Only when I have a 90 or 94 samples, then only I can process in the kit. That is a storage for the same study. But sometimes people go beyond the same study and they want to store the sample for another study. In that case, there is a WHO template of informed consent for future use of sample. That informed consent has to be taken additionally. And whenever these storage samples are going to use for another study, a separate IEC informed consent has to be taken. And since this is a different study, the earlier approval will not be granted. We need to take a fresh or reconsent whenever the new information is available. Conscious patient become conscious, protocol is changed anywhere, publication will identify somebody, a child becomes adult, a fresh consent or reconsent is required. And at any point of time, the human participant can say no, that so far I have taken participant, but I don't want to continue further, and you need to destroy my all the data. Informed consent plays any important role, and this is a major communication will can solve the problem. In India, we have a people who may not be able to understand fully illiterate participants. Then we need to have a unbiased person who is giving the witness as an informed consent. Then we have a retrospective record based study where ethics committee may grant a waiver of informed consent. And already we have talked about WHO format of the samples which are stored for this thing. As with during COVID, online consent and online IAC meeting were permitted, and many issues we have taken in an innovative way for obtaining the consent. Whenever the stored samples are used for another proposal, separate IEC approval has to be obtained. Many of our studies have questionnaire scales, lifestyle measures. Is always better you prepare their own scale. But whenever we are assessing an abstract science, in such cases, we need to use the already prepared and validated scale from somebody else, and we need to take necessary permission from those people before utilizing. Only because it is available on Google search or through AI, we cannot use those scales unless official permission is obtained. Many times we see online survey on our social media, WhatsApp, Telegram, in Instagram and all, where probably the informed consent is compromised. Hence, whenever these things are being used, we need to make sure the informed consent principle is not violated. The cost of investigation, whenever an investigation is planned in a study, if it is done as part of the routine management of patient care, then the research team need not worry about that cost, because that is going to be done as a part of the routine management care. But in case the investigation is planned because I as a principal investigator has come into the picture, and only because of my study the research investigation is required, then that cost has to be bared by either the research team or by some kind of a funding mechanism, and the patient need not bear those research related investigation. Finally, IEC will approve with some conditions, unapprove and ask for some clarification. But even if you get approval letter, don't think my whole process of ethics is over. Ethics and science process starts from the day you study and your research is thought, and it continues till that outcome comes in the light of the day in the form of discovery, publication and public health benefit. Do not think you are working only for ethics committee and ethics work is only for submission of document. The ground reality, when the you are talking to the participants, that time the informed consent has to be implemented, and that is the primary aspects of the ethics issues. Rather than just submitting the document, it has to go and it has to be followed till the discovery, publication and the public health benefits come into picture. As I was talking about clinical trial registry, all clinical trials have to be registered before they start for the study. And if you see their website in this corner, it says all kind of experimental studies they are requesting us to register, not only a drug trial or vaccine trial, but all kind of experiments, procedures, surgical procedures, preventive measures, lifestyle modifications, educational interventions, all kind of things needs to be registered. CTRI registration was mandatory for all COVID-19 study. As we were talking about in 2023, AI guidelines came. AI guideline is with respect to identifying a document, writing proposal, identifying the ideas, then implementing the proposal, wearable devices, the validation of wearable devices, and finally its use in the publication, scientific manuscript development, oral poster presentation is a big domain and big area. And we have to be ethically and responsible, but unfortunately, it is being noted that people are not doing proper disclosure of AI use, and hence we need to have a larger amount of training with the earlier generation as well as the current generation of people, so that they don't use irresponsibly and unethically use AI. We ban the AI? No, we cannot ban the AI because it's very, very important. We have to make necessary training. Just one slide to tell you, whenever we are asking any question to a chat GPT or any AI, it is affecting our environment, water supply, and cooling those data centers is also very, very challenging. Hence, we also need to think about the environmental factor, the water level, and so many other aspects when we are looking at the AI. Hence, my final take home message are, all researchers conducting research in India should be well versed with the all applicable guidelines. Ideally, all research proposals should have to be approved by IEC. Unscientific studies are unethical in nature, and prescribed format for the research proposal submission to IEC, so that they do not have a trouble. And also, your all documents are in proper shape and you get the ethics committee approval correctly. Then the most important aspect, which I will always emphasize, is apply these ethical principles in practice. Just submitting the documents have no value unless we take the ethics committee approval and take proper informed consent and do all necessary things so that scientific and ethical aspects are followed. Thank you very much for patient hearing. I will be happy to answer one or two questions if possible. And also, I want to again thank the full organizing team, Jailal sir, Mishra sir, Russell sir, Kanagwel sir, and the whole team who are behind this program. And I'm really thankful to them for taking ethics as one of the topic which many times unfortunately neglected to give a important limelight in the fellowship program, in the conference over the years, which has modified in many colleges now with UNESCO centers, IMA collaborations, and so many things. I'm no words. I'm totally speechless. The amount of efforts the team under their leadership has taken for making all the things very ethical and scientifically. Thank you once again. Thank you all of you for patient hearing, and thank you the team for giving me this opportunity, which is a great learning opportunity for me. Thank you very much. Over to all of you if you have any quick question before we go to the next two presentations. Since I am not able to see any question in the chat box, as well as any query or any raise hand, maybe I can request my next speaker to please start, and maybe questions may come during that time, because that is again very important session. Balance between ethical aspects and legal aspects, and more important, how to look at the moral science. Over to sir, to you. And really, great learning has happened with your presence also in the earlier couple of session. And Venkatesh sir, I am really thankful to both of you also to be a co-speaker with me. Thank you for the great opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaj Shah. Shall I share my, you'll have to, oh, yeah, that's it. Can you see my slides? Just a minute.
Yes, sir. Slideshow mode, if you can do.
Yeah, now,
yes, sir. Please go ahead. Yes, sir.
Yeah. At the outset, I'd like to thank Professor Jailal and the organizers of this Global Summit, BIOETHICON 2026, for asking me to talk on this topic of law and ethics. I'm both an obstetrician and gynecologist and a lawyer. I'm also a faculty in the Department of Education, World Federation of Medical Education, bring about awareness on bioethics. The law, what is law? Well, law means these are rules and regulations made by the government to ensure proper conduct of human beings. While ethics is something that These are moral principles that individuals accept to govern themselves so that they can make the right choice. So basically, this is what law and ethics are. But I'm going to tell you why law and ethics is important and is necessary in our day-to-day life. Because violence against healthcare professionals is an increasing global concern, threatening both the provider safety and integrity of the doctor-patient relationship. While systemic challenges such as overcrowding and resource limitation contribute to these incidents, ethical gaps in communication, transparency, and fairness often precipitate conflict. This presentation examines how the principles of bioethics, autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice can serve as practical tools to prevent violence in healthcare
Sir,
settings.
your slides are not moving,
Wait,
sir.
No, it will remove. It will move.
Ah,
I'm just
okay,
talking
okay.
right
I just
now, and
wanted to
then I
convey
will.
that. No
Yes,
problem,
yes.
sir. No problem.
I just want to give an introduction of my talk. Why law and ethics is so important. I would be highlighting how inadequate informed consent, poor communication of prognosis, and perceived financial exploitation can escalate into aggression. An article appeared in the newspaper that in the town of Toothukudi in Tamil Nadu, not far away from Kanyakumari, from where the conference is going to be held, a lady doctor was hacked to death by a man in retaliation to alleged medical negligence from the doctor's part that led to his pregnant wife's death. A similar article in the Indian Express mentioned a cardiologist was shot dead in Bombay, and the cops say it was revenge by patient's brother. In recent times, this anarchy leads to doctors and private practitioners going on strike. Although there is no special federal law in India for protection of doctors, the Supreme Court of India in Jacob Matthew versus State of Punjab has laid down guidelines such as a private complaint may not be entertained unless the complainant has produced prima facie evidence before the court in the form of a credible opinion given by another competent doctor to support the charge of rashness or negligence on the part of the accused doctor. So this is very important. You need to have another doctor to say, yes, this was a negligent act. Without that, this complaint will not even be entertained in the courts. Therefore, the three-judge bench felt there's a need for protecting doctors from frivolous or unjust prosecution. So, friends, it's important that just because an FIR is there, you just cannot be arrested. Even a lodging of FIR is made difficult by this process, by this three-bench court order. So it's important you remember this order. Somebody wants to threatening to have you arrested, you can always show them this order, judgment, three-judge bench order saying that doctors should not be arrested just because of a complaint being made. A new survey by the American College of Emergency Physicians found that the rate of violence in the emergency departments have increased. We have noticed that violence against healthcare professionals by patients' relations is also on the rise. This is obvious from the number of cases that we have studied. See, this is a very common sight, doctors being assaulted by a patient's relatives. But who's at fault? Probably factors behind this deteriorating doctor-patient relationship are: 1, technology development in medical sciences; 2, inadequate doctor-patient ratio; 3, expanding middle-class population and growth in health insurance; 4, patients' desire to become a part of the decision-making; 5, expansion of literacy and awareness of Consumer Protection Act; 6, easy accessibility to information. So any of these factors could work in why this doctor-patient relationship, which was built on trust, is now breaking. And no longer doctors are seen as God, and what they say is not acceptable by the patients. But then you see the other side. You should talk on the behalf of the doctor. That's what judges are. They look on both sides. Yes. We all know that no doctor enters a hospital with the intention of harming a patient. But then we also have to see what's the patient's perspectives, why they are upset, why they're so upset, because maybe the waiting time is too long to see a doctor. There's no smile on the face of a doctor. He does not address by the name. He has no patience to listen, not taking enough care during rounds, not conversing with the patient nor attender. He wants to explain to the students who are there and teach a patient as a case and not as a person. A patient feels neglected. Is doctors arrogant in this talk? There are too many tests, investigations which have been written and not explained. Too expensive. Today, money does play a big part, especially in India, where everything is not covered by the insurance. Patients left unattended during emergencies. The behavior of nurses and paramedical staff might not be good. So any of these could also anger the patient. The patient is upset. So then what do we do? What do we as physicians could do to improve our communication skills, to build a successful relationship between a patient and a doctor? So what do we do? So much of the patient dissatisfaction and complaints are due to the breakdown in the doctor-patient communication. Remember, communication is the activity of conveying, sharing on ideas, feelings, or information. There's an art in communication, particularly when we are talking in difficult situations, such as when you're breaking bad news, or a patient is critically ill, or even informed consent. We're all talking about informed consent. Many times it's not a doctor who's operating, who's taking the informed consent. It is some nurse or intern who has no knowledge about the case. For him, it's just another case, not the patient. So absolutely, he does not know the background of the patient, nothing. And he just tells him, come sign here in this paper and go. Informed consent is not just signing in a piece of paper. So the essential elements to build an effective doctor-patient relationship include: 1, open the discussion, gather information, understand the patient's perspective, share information, reach an agreement on problems and plans, and provide closure. So this is what is very important. Before the patient goes out of that room, they should be fully aware about the information, clarified, and not in doubt. Many times patients don't understand what the doctors tell them, and they just they just sign in a paper, and later on they regret for making the signature. And that's where when things go wrong, they want to take a revenge on the doctor. So my friends, the spikes protocol is particularly important today when you want to break bad news. This acronym, spikes, that stands for SPIKES. S is settings, setting up the interview, ensuring privacy. P, assessing the patient's perception. I, obtaining the patient's perception. K, giving knowledge and information. E, addressing the patient's emotions with empathy. S, summarizing the main points of conversation and addressing any further questions. Also, we doctors should not be making these common mistakes: being too blunt, discussing bad news at a time and place not appropriate for a serious conversation, conveying the sense that there's no hope, talking only about diagnosis, not about prognosis, going into this critical discussion without preparation. So all these are common mistakes. We shouldn't do these mistakes because this is where we are making the patients aggrieved, feeling upset, giving faulty news, information, especially about mental retardation, life expectancy, or other serious matter. You just tell them, oh, you're going to die in a week's time. No, all that shouldn't be really. You should be convey messages in a very nice way, not make the patient more anxious, talking unprofessionally, appearing to be in a hurry, being humorous, flippant, or other respectful and disrespectful. You just don't care. So all that is not right. Using technical jargon, which they will not understand. So all that is wrong. So it's very important that we improve this empathy. We all talk about empathy. You must feel, you put yourself in your patient's shoes. So how do we improve this doctor's empathy? By going into personal details of the patient, spending an extra moment, making eye contact, see the patient, show your support, put yourself in the patient's position, get feedback from the patient, ask them, did you understand? Train all your staff to have genuine concern. So this is the way how you improve your empathy. Doctors and healthcare professionals need to make statements that facilitate empathy. So this being an ethics summit, I am talking more about ethics than law because you need to know about the ethics. You're all so that you don't want anybody to control you. The law is more of a punishment system, but ethics is helping you make the right choice, right statements. So so when you talk to your patient, acknowledge their pain, you tell them, I'm sorry, you're going through this. How can I help you? I hate that this happened to you. This must be very hard for you. I can see how it is difficult for you. So all this that shows acknowledges their pain. You share how you feel. Tell them, I can't imagine what you must be going through. I wish I could make it better for you. My heart hurts for you. It makes me really sad to hear this happen to you. So these small things that says that you really care for them makes a big difference. All that the patient wants to know is, yes, is this doctor really going to make the right decisions for themselves? Is this doctor really helpful? Does this doctor care for you? That's all that matters. If once the the patient feels his doctor's doing their best, then they accept whatever decisions you make, because many patients don't understand medicine. They don't understand anything. So they want you to make the decisions, but they want to know, is this doctor genuine in making the decision? So you show gratitude that patient opened up. Tell them, thank you for sharing with me. I'm glad you told me. Thank you for trusting me with this. That really means a lot. So when they're telling you certain personal details, you no need to acknowledge that they're telling you something which they don't want to share with even their partners. They're telling you something very personal. They expect you to keep that as a confidential message. They ensure privacy. So these are certain things that you should tell them that, yes, you would keep it confidential. This information will be confidential. There's law today that says if you breach privacy and confidentiality, you will be penalized. Today, Data Protection Act is coming into place, and not many people are aware that breach of data can give you a penalty of 250 crores. So that's how much so severe the law is. But why do you want law to control you? You be ethical, use ethics as a means to have a good clinical practice. So that's why I should show interest in what you're doing. Ask the patients, how are you feeling about everything? I want to make sure I can understand what you are saying. You ask them, what I'm hearing is that you're feeling bad or not good. Is that right? You ask them these things. Is there anything else you want to share? So show interest in what they're saying and be supportive by saying, I'm here for you, I will help you, I'm happy to listen to you at any times. You can just touch them on the shoulders. Any physical help they want, hold their hands. All this really shows that you empathize, you feel for them. So these statements will help. My friends, doctors and healthcare professionals in the process of good communications would uphold these following ethical points. This Article 3, human dignity. Article 4, do no harm. Article 5, autonomy. Article 6, consent. Article 8, protecting the vulnerable. Article 9, privacy and confidentiality. Article 11, non-stigmatization and non-discrimination. And Article 18, professionalism. By following all this, you are following the UNESCO Declaration of Bioethical Principles. So therefore, by good communication, you are being ethical, and that will help you make the right choice. My friends, thus this discussion emphasized the need for empathic communication, shared discussion making, and transparency in both clinical care and billing practices. By positioning bioethics as a proactive and preventive framework, this presentation advocates for its integration into routine clinical practice to rebuild trust, reduce violence, and promote culture of safety and respect in healthcare. I conclude my talk with a quote from Sir William Osler. Medicine is a science of uncertainty and an art of probability. The good physician treats the disease. The great physician treats the person who has the disease. Thank you, my friends, and all the participants of this global summits on bioethics. And see you once again in Kanyakumari. Thank you. Stop.
Yeah.
Any
Professor Khan?
questions? I'm happy to take any questions.
Kanavel sir, you are there?
Pardon me?
No, I am. I think Dr. Kanagavel, you are there? Or? Okay. If the audience, if there is any question, you can ask.
Have you all, anybody had a legal problem? Have you got a legal notice, or have you had any of your friends get a notice from the court? And how do you go about? What do you want to know?
You can
I
take
think
5 minutes for that. You can. Vivek, you can talk for 5 minutes on that.
yes, anybody? Yeah, so it's important that obviously legal law is there, the rules they want to follow, but basically the courts want to ensure that you follow the rules and make sure that you don't do harm to your patients. That's why when you get a notice from the court, you don't need to panic. It's a process that you need to follow. All you need to is ensure you have your documents to complement whatever you said to your patients. Your communications should be all documented well. So your document communicates the treatment you have given. So make sure you have your documents very well, and you don't need to give your documents to everybody. You need to have true copy of your documents. Anybody asks your patient's relatives, or if your patient comes and asks, you need to give copy of your document, not the original. The original is always for the court. So it's very important documentation is done well, because your true document, what you're giving to the court, actually speaks of your action. And every page in the document should be numbered. Make sure it is You have your signatures in the end of the paper. They should not be scribbling or rewriting, underwriting, nothing. It should be very clear. So actually, before you give anything, the law itself gives you 72 hours before you have to give your copy to anybody who asks. So it's not that immediately you have to give your case papers. The time, there's a law that courts give that 72 hours. Use that 72 hours to make sure your case records is well written. You can take opinions from your colleagues. Peer support is very important in such things. And I would always say all of you should have a professional indemnity insurance because that pays for your mistakes. So make sure you are your indemnity policy covers your compensation, the patients, and compensation is always depends upon the capacity of earning capacity of the patient. So therefore, you need to cover yourself well. Insurance is very important, and also your peer support, especially like this association support, is necessary because many times mob violence takes place, and in these times it is we see friends. You need friends and police to help you at these times. So keep all of them well before all these actions takes place. These are reality that happens, and I will always like to take this moment to say, have a good camera circuit. Everything should be documented, and closed circuit, everything should be there to document what has happened. So, my friends, documentation is a very important part of the legal process. I end my talk now. So, further, I will continue when you see in person in Kanyakumari. Thank you. Shall we have the next speaker, Dr. Venkatesh Kathukal,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
begin
Let me
his
share my screen.
talk? Yeah.
Sir, is my screen visible?
Not yet.
No, sir.
Not yet.
Uh,
Not yet.
Not
Yeah.
yet, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Very good evening, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank my mentor, President Professor Dr. Jailal, sir, for this wonderful opportunity and for his kind words. Also, I'd like to utilize this platform to congratulate and thank Professor Dr. Jailal, sir, for completing his glorious service in the Tamil Nadu government as the Dean of Government Tiruvannamala Medical College. I'm also thankful our CMA leaders who have joined today, Secretary Dr. Joy Ugam ma'am, Dr. T.N. Ravishankar sir, and all the other leaders opportunity. Our previous speakers, Dr. Pankaj sir and Dr. Vivek sir, has periodically covered very important topics in an easy and simple way. Continuing with that, I'll be discussing in brief about the topic publication ethics. So I'm currently serving as the publications director of the World Medical Association Junior Doctors Network, and I had the opportunity to be the editor in chief for 5 editions of the WMA I have 37 publications till date. So with this background, I'm sharing my experiences and perceptions regarding publication ethics. So let us start with a case scenario. I think there is some disturbance in the audio. Host, I request the host to please mute the noise. I request panelists please mute the non-speakers. Okay. So let us continue with the case scenario. In 1999 to 2009, we could see there was a famous group of trials called the Decrease, which was led by Dr. Don Poldermans, which publishes highly favorable data on perioperative beta blockers to prevent cardiac arrest, which is to be used during a non-cardiac surgery. And in 2009, based on this trial, the European Society of Cardiology they recommended giving perioperative beta blockers as a class 1 recommendation, citing this decreased trial. And interestingly, the Dr. Don Poldermans, whose data was referred to, himself chaired the guidelines committee. And in 2009 to 11, this protocol is widely adopted in surgical practice across Europe. And in 2011, between 2011 to 2014, Erasmus Medical Center investigated and found that there was data fabrication and negligent conduct was there by Dr. Polderman, and source documents could not be located or verified, and also there was lack of informed consent in many parts of the trial. And as a result, Dr. Polderman was dismissed from the committee. So and this shows that what is the importance of having following proper ethics in research and publication, because Dr. Polderman's following all these controversies, many of his key papers were retracted and they were flagged with concerns, and the European Society of Cardiology guidelines were downgraded. Independent meta-analysis also suggested that the protocol may have caused excess perioperative strokes and deaths, and critics have estimated that this could be causing loss of lives of more than 8 lakh people across Europe. This is a classical example of how disastrous impact on public health will be there if a publication ethics is not followed properly. With this asset induction, let us begin today's session. The objectives of today's session is that by the end of the session, you should be able to identify what are the core ethical violations in research. You should be able to apply established global frameworks to appropriately assign academic credit and conduct unbiased peer review. You should be able to evaluate emerging threats to evidence based medicine, specifically the infiltration of predatory and cloned journals and the unverified use of artificial intelligence. And also at the end of the session, you should be able to recognize the critical role of institutional transparency, including the disclosure of financial and non financial conflicts of interest in safeguarding the patient care, as already highlighted by Dr. Pankaj Shah. So, why this is a matter of concern, particularly at this point of time? Historically, is it the first time or is it the first couple of years retractions are happening? No. Historically, retractions were a rare event. It was primarily driven by honest errors or miscalculations. But today's scenario, if you take, the retractions are skyrocketing, as you could see in the retraction watch image, which is displayed on the screen. Thousands and thousands of scientific papers are retracted in the past few years. The vast majority of recent retractions are not due to either simple or honest errors, rather, it is due to deliberate misconduct, data fabrication, and compromised peer review. We'll discuss about the factors further in the upcoming slide. The second reason why this topic is very relevant now is because of the rise of paper mills. That is, there are profit driven organizations that churn out fabricated or heavily plagiarized scientific manuscripts for a fee. You would have seen advertisements in Instagram or Facebook. You would have been part of WhatsApp groups in which such kind of messages are circulated, like first authorship is available for 10,000 rupees. Those kind of messages you see. So these are classic examples of paper mills, and researchers, especially young researchers, who are facing the intense pressure to publish. There is a famous saying, publish or perish. So because of this intense pressure, they purchase authorships on these fake papers to inflate their CVs. Also, the third reason why this topic of publication ethics is very relevant and important now is the advent of AI. The large language models like ChatGPT, they can write perfect but entirely hallucinated manuscripts just in a matter of few seconds. So these AI generated contents easily they bypass the older plagiarism checking tools, and nowadays with the help of newer plagiarism tools we are able to find it, but a counter tool always is available in the market. So, because of these three reasons, this topic of publication ethics is very relevant in today's scenario. So, moving into the foundational aspects of our today's session, what are the core principles of publication ethics? First is the honesty. So, there should be truthfulness in data collection and reporting of the results. Second is the accountability. We should be taking ownership of the work from inception to publication. We means all the authors. It's not like you can say that only the first author is responsible or only the corresponding author is responsible. Every single author is responsible for the work and should take ownership of the work. This is rightly guided by the ICJME guidelines, which we will be seeing in the further slides. Third core principle for publication ethics is fairness. That is, equitable attribution of credit and unbiased peer review should be there. And fourth principle is transparency. There should be full disclosure of methods, data, and conflicts of interest. So, honesty, accountability, fairness, and transparency all four constitute the core principles of publication ethics. So, how do we say whether there is transparency, honesty? Should we navigate in the dark? No, we need not navigate in the dark. We have international guidelines, international bodies who help us to navigate and attain these four principles. First is the COPE. COPE stands for Committee on Publication Ethics. So this COPE provides guidelines and flowcharts that the journals themselves use when they go wrong or they face a difficult situation, like handling plagiarism, handling retractions, handling authorship disputes. So whenever there is a problem for the journals, they refer to this COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics Guidelines, who clearly gives the solutions for the problems. Second is the WAME, that is the World Association of Medical Education, WAME. This WAME focuses on the editors themselves, ensuring that the journals globally maintain rigorous, standardized editorial policies. And very importantly, I would like to highlight this declaration by the World Medical Association, that is the WMA Declaration of Helsinki on ethical principles for medical research involving human participants. So, this famous declaration of Helsinki, which was revised multiple times, even 2 years back, clearly mandates that any research which involves human participants, the results of it should be made publicly available. Yes, we all will publish our articles if we are doing any study. But what is more important is that even if the positive findings are not there, even if there are negative findings, or even if the findings are inconclusive, it is our duty to publish these results, because we should honor the risk taken by the human participants who volunteered for this research. So, like this, many important guidelines regarding to research and publication is given by the WMA Declaration of Helsinki. It is available on the WMA website. You may please refer to it as well. Next is a very important thing, especially for you as participants of today's session. What is more relevant and important to you is this ICMJE guideline, which is the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. This perhaps is the most critical thing which we need to know as authors. If you have ever debated who qualifies as an author versus who should be just mentioned in the acknowledgement, then the perfect framework is given by this ICMJE guideline. So, in order to claim myself to be an author for a paper, I should be satisfying four criteria. The first criteria is that I should have made substantial contribution to the conception or design of the work, or the data acquisition or analysis or interpretation of data. And this should be the first criteria. Second criteria, I should be involved in drafting the work or reviewing it critically for important intellectual content. Third criteria is that I should be involved in final approval of the version to be published. And last criteria is that I should be agreeing to be accountable for all aspects of the work in ensuring that questions related to the accuracy or integrity of any part of the work that is appropriately investigated and resolved. So please note, all these four criteria must be satisfied. It's all connected by the word and it is not connected by the word are. So each of these four criteria I should meet if I need to claim myself to be an author for a paper. And authorship, as you know, is the primary currency for academic medicine. The first of all, this authorship, why people are behind authorship, because it is going to help in academic advancements and promotions. If you're going to work in a medical college, if you're not even though if you're not in a medical college, authorship and publication matters if you want to attract grants and get funding for your work. And it's definitely a prestigious thing in the medical field. Also, this authorship means that not you're taking only the credits, but you're also taking the accountability, you're taking public responsibility for the integrity of the work. If there is any mistake in the publication, or any errors, or any manipulations that has happened in your publication, then you are responsible to showcase that authorship is there. And there is also a shift in perspective that nowadays it's not about merely listing someone as author, but we are recently more towards defining accurately what was the role of each author. If you could see higher end journals, they always ask what were the contribution made by each and every author. So all this are helping in increasing the increasingly following the ethics related to publication. So now let us discuss few common violations with regarding to publication. First thing is the gift authorship. Gift authorship is something we see frequently, especially in medical college setting. It is a practice of adding a name, often that of a senior faculty member or the department head, which may be due to a sense of respect or sense of obligation, or even a sense of fear, where the head or the senior faculty member has made no intellectual contribution. This is a common violation, that is the gift authorship. Second is the guest authorship. So, strategically mentioning some very senior person's name so that the paper gets accepted easily, and the editors and the peer reviewers are afraid to reject the paper. So, that is the guest authorship. For example, if I'm going to add the name of the WHO director, then it's like without him actually contributing, then it means it's guest authorship and it is a violation of publication ethics. And third one is the ghost authorship. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. This occurs when someone who has made a substantial intellectual contribution but deliberately left off the authorship list. This happens when this may happen due to many reasons. First reason commonly is the academic bullying. So if you are helping to your senior and the senior is simply ignoring to or deliberately wants not to input your name, then that is a form of bullying and that is ghost authorship. And in real world, what is more common is that pharmaceutical companies, they hire reputed writers and get the manuscript done with the help of them, but they don't put the name of the writers. So that again is a violation, and that is the ghost authorship. There are many disadvantages associated with this ghost authorship as well, because it is going to rob the context in rob the what is the right of the reader to understand in what context the author has written it, and whose name is added falsely as a gift authorship or a guest authorship. They are subjected to liability without even actually contributing. So all these are the aspects which are involved in common violations, ghost, gift, and guest authorship. So how do we fix these problems of ghost author, gift author, and guest author? So the modern solution, which is increasingly gaining attention these days, is using the credit taxonomy. Stands for contributor role taxonomy. It breaks a research project into 14 distinct roles, like the conceptualization, data curation, formal analysis, funding acquisition, investigation, methodology, project administration. Like that, 14 different roles are defined by this credit taxonomy. So, by adopting to this, the journal allows the researcher to declare exactly what did they contribute to. It protects the junior researchers who did most of the work, and it appropriately categorizes the senior faculty who provided supervision and funding, which again is important. It's not like the role of HOD or a senior faculty member is not important. Securing funding, helping in the supervision, all it is also important. But this credit taxonomy helps in identifying the exact contribution and make a decision regarding the authorship and the sequence of authorship. Next, let us discuss the common forms of research misconduct, that is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. Fabrication is nothing but creation of a lie. That is, you're inventing data sets out of thin air. You're making up the data and reporting them as fact. That is called fabrication. Falsification is the manipulation of the truth. That is, you are tweaking a few numbers here and there so that your hypothesis, your study looks good. And third one is the plagiarism, which is basically an intellectual theft. You are using someone else's ideas, processes, results, or even sentences without giving appropriate academic credit to them. So these fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism are the common research misconducts. And when we think of falsification, what often comes to our mind is that researchers are entering wrong data or manipulating the data in the Excel sheet. But falsification extends beyond text and spreadsheets to visual data like Western blots, microscopy images, radiological images. And with the advent of AI, it is much more easier these days. However, medical journals are routinely now employing AI-driven forensic tools to detect the manipulation prior to publication. Another common research misconduct is torturing the data, that is, data manipulation and selective reporting. There is a concept called p hacking. P hacking is nothing but you are running multiple statistical analysis, you're creating multiple groups, multiple variables on a data set, and you keep running different statistics until you get a statistically significant result, that is a p value of less than 0.005. So, and then you are going to write your entire study around this p value. This is called p hacking, and as related concept is cherry picking. That is, your result you are reporting only those secondary endpoints that succeeded or gave a positive result, while you are trying to hide or bury the failed primary endpoint. So these data manipulation, they skew the systematic review, which is the highest form of evidence. They corrupt the clinical guidelines, and they directly violate the mandate to report the negative finding. Just to break here, may I ask who mandated this negative reporting of negative finding? We just discussed a few minutes back. Let me check the chat box. Who mandated that negative findings should be reported? Okay, I'm just looking at the chat box. We're talking of a declaration a few minutes back, which mandated that whenever human participation is involved, there should be reporting of the results, irrespective of whether it is positive or negative. Any answers? Okay, so it is the Declaration of Helsinki, which was released by the World Medical Association. So, and can anyone say what is being done in this image? They are cutting something into multiple pieces. This is called salami slicing. So, it's also that's a similar concept in research also, where we are artificially fracturing a single robust study into multiple least publishable units. The harm is that it is going to distort the apparent weight of the evidence. Looks like it's going to make one study look like it is done by five different studies, and it decreases the weight of evidence. Also, it is going to cost in multiple terms, like exhausting the resources available for peer review. So this salami slicing should be avoided so as much as possible. Next, we are going to see the important mechanism who is going to or which is going to act as a gatekeeper in the publication world, which has the potential to identify the research misconducts. That is nothing but the peer review system. Peer review is the foundational quality control mechanism for scientific literature. So, being a peer review for 10 journals, I can tell you that this peer review system is a wonderful system, and it is built entirely on trust. When you receive an invitation to review, you are being granted early access to privileged information that is not published yet. So, the absolute first rule to be a peer reviewer is that you should be able to maintain confidentiality. And you may be consciously aware that you should not share this with anyone. But what mistakes recently people do is that they upload the entire paper into AI, Chat GPT, and ask, "Give me the results, peer review this article, and give me." Again, that is a form of breaching the confidentiality. So this practice should not be done. So the role of peer reviewer is beyond keeping the data secrets, and they also owe the authors and the medical community for their objectivity and the timeliness. Objectivity means we should evaluate the article for the way it is written, for the how sound the methodology is. We should not give weightage to what are the affiliations of the authors are, who are the authors are, and also you should be openly declaring if you're having any conflicts of interest. If you're reviewing a paper that directly competes with your own ongoing trial, you must take step back and decline the peer review. Furthermore, we must address timeliness. Intentionally delaying a review, it is going to halt the scientific progress. If you could not finish the peer review in the stipulated date, then you should decline the review rather than accepting the review and keeping it on your email for more than 6 months. And a few forms of reviewer misconducts are: reviewers can be biased, they unfairly reject a manuscript due to professional library or competing research interest. Then appropriation of ideas, so stealing the new methodologies preliminary data or concepts from a manuscript which you got for peer review, again, it's a very serious mistake which you are doing. And third is that reviewer misconduct is a severe breach of academic integrity that is notoriously difficult to prove. And we have coercive citation. It's an insidious practice that manipulates the metrics like H index, height index, and all. This happens when the reviewer hands back a critic that essentially says that this paper is good, but you should be adding these five specific citations. If you see what are those five specific citations suggested by the peer reviewer, it will be all his own publication. So by this way, some people try to artificially inflate their number of citations, H index and height index. So suggesting a citation is perfectly fine if it is very much relevant to the manuscript. But if it is used for inflating one's own number of citation count, then it's against the publication ethics. Nowadays, if people who are doing all those things are increasingly banned by the journals and not invited for peer reviews. Another emerging threat is fake reviews and reviewings. Fake review is nothing but authors are suggesting non-existent reviewers with a fabricated email address, like creating a duplicate mail ID in my friend's name and sending the peer review invitation to my non-existent friend, or so that the whole peer review process can be controlled myself. That is a wrong practice which is happening. Second wrong practice is compromised reviewings. That is a coordinate group of researchers, a group of friends from the same institute or from the same city. They agree to peer review each other's work so that they can bypass the editorial scrutiny. So these were common in the past. Nowadays, increasingly, as a countermeasure, journals are shifting away from the author-suggested peer review system, and they're utilizing some other sources like institutional database to invite the peer reviewers. Moving into the next segment, let us discuss about the conflict of interest and funding transparency. I want to start by reframing the way how we think about this conflict of interest. Having a conflict of interest, we naturally tend to get an impression, oh, there is something wrong. If I'm having some conflict of interest, it means that I'm a bad person and I'm facing some acquisition. No, it is not. Conflict of interest is simply a condition of professional life. It's like openly declaring what you're having. We all have interest. Every single person has an interest. The golden rule here is that having a conflict is not unethical, but if you're trying to hide it or failing to manage it is a unethical thing. When we declare our conflicts transparently, we are giving our peers the necessary context to evaluate our findings accurately. When we say conflict of interest, our mind immediately thinks only of financial interest, but it may be not direct financial interest like funding for the study. It may be indirect financial ties also, like if they have sponsored for conference, or if they have if you are holding stocks of that company, like that there are multiple financial conflicts of interest which could be there. You should declare it openly so that the reader and the peer reviewer, they understand the context and they interpret your findings with caution. Also, there are several non-financial conflicts of interest also. This is often overlooked but equally capable of skewing the scientific objectivity. For example, if I'm going to advocate for a single concept, a new drug which I found, or new drug which is in US, and for so many years I'm advocating vigorously for the usage of this drug and adoption of this drug in scientific guidelines. If some study comes against that drug and I'm a peer reviewer, or if some study comes and I'm against that concept, then I should be able to and I should be declaring the conflicts of interest openly so that the reader will understand it. And also, if institutional rivalries are competing for the same grants, again constitute to the non-financial conflict of interest. Having enmity alone is not a conflict of interest. Even having close personal relationship or deep-seated political or religious beliefs which can potentially affect the research topic is also a conflict of interest, which must be declared openly. Also, you have disclosure obligation if you're having industry sponsored research. So the collaboration between medicine and the industry is not at all bad. It is definitely required for advancement, but you should establish clear cut boundaries. As an investigator, if I'm the principal investigator, I'm going to take sponsorship from the industry. I must retain I should make sure that I retain the ultimate control over the study design and the data analysis, and I should get the unconditional right to publish regardless of whether the results are positive, negative, or neutral. The sponsor must author's specific role must be explicitly detailed in the manuscript, so that the readers are able to understand what is the context. And what is happening recently, there is exploitation of this publish or perish mindset. For this exploitation, a group of people, they post themselves as reputed journals, or they create fake journals that is called predatory journals. So predatory journal is nothing but a group of people who prioritize self-interest and profits in the name of article processing fees or preferred editing fees. They choose it, they do all this, and they don't pay much attention to the scientific value of that paper or the academic integrity. They even bypass the peer reviews, and they publish the articles very quickly. So they target the young researchers who have a pressure to publish. And this exploitation is very common through this model of predatory journal. A similar concept is clone journal, where they make exact copy of the website, exact copy of the layout of the journal, and even the name may be same or little tweaked, and they claim that they are the journal. For example, Lancet is a reputed journal. If I'm going to create a duplicate journal in a similar sounding name, for example, Lancer, and then creating a website similar to Lancet's website, then it is called clone journal, where someone is trying to steal your money in the name of article processing charges, and that journal do not really exist, and it is a close replica of what is already existing. So they, or how to identify this, what are the red flags? You often get spam mails praising you for your work, even it may be a simple cross section study or a review article. You will get very vast praises for your work, and you will get in an unprofessional language, in a very buttering language, you will get mails. I hope many of you would be already receiving such mails, at least 2 to 3 mails per week. So that means that the journal or that conference may be not a real one. And if someone is guaranteeing you that peer review and publication will be done in a very short frame, then it is a big red flag. Like people, they get it published in 2 days, 3 days, 1 week. So you should be very careful. If someone is promising publication within anywhere less than 3 months, it's a big red flag. Usually, national and international journals, they take several months together, and even years, 1 or 2 years for getting it published. So if someone is promising a very short timeline, then it is very, very likely that it's a predatory or clone journal. And these kind of predatory journals, they also lack transparency regarding the publication cost until the manuscript is accepted. And also, if you see their website, there will be fake editorial boards. There will be you could see them listing the areas of interest in their journal as all the areas, not only related to medicine but related to engineering, related to law. So they will list all the areas, and in editorial board you could see big people's name. But in reality, even those people whose name is there will not be aware that their name is mentioned in their website. So this kind of fake editorial boards also you should be aware. And they will use invented impact factors. For example, journal impact factor by Clarivate is a standard one. This kind of predatory journals, they have their own impact factor. They tell that it is global impact factor or universal impact factor, some kind of similar sounding name they mention, and they put it telling that this journal is having a very good impact factor. Again, we saw this concept of clone journals, where they are creating fraudulent clone websites of legitimate established journals to steal submissions and the article processing fee. So, how could you verify this? You could always verify the indexing status of the journal by directly going to recognized database. For example, you go to PubMed, you type a journal's name, and if the journal's name is coming, you click on the link of the journal's name within PubMed only, it will take you to the authentic website. If you go and search in Google, then what can happen is that the predatory journal owners, they may pay for the search engine optimization, and they may put an ad and make the fake predatory journal come on the top of the search. So it's always better you go to some database like PubMed or Scopus or DOAJ, and then from there you go to the journal website, so that you get to know that it's a correct website. So let us discuss few emerging challenges with regards to publication ethics. The main challenge is the advent of AI and large language models in writing. So this large language models like ChatGPT, they are fundamentally changing the way the manuscript is drafted and literature synthesis is being done. So the current stance is that the medical community is, or the journals are not against the use of AI, but they are more interested towards regulating the use of AI. So authors must explicitly declare the use of AI in the methodology section or the acknowledgement section, and a similar guideline is already given in the ICJME. Then the next emerging challenge is the hallucination. As our previous speakers have rightly highlighted, there's a hazard for hallucination. They generate highly convincing text, but it is based on completely fabricated information. So, for example, there may be fake citations. When you're going copy pasting the citation and searching in Google, no such studies as ever published in the world, or the existing studies or existing data may be fabricated, and these kind of things, hallucinations are very much possible with AI, though this is decreasing these days with the advancement of models and advancement of tools like the Perplexity or Notebook LM. But still, this problem is still existent, and as authors we should be fully aware and take responsibility of whatever content we are submitting in our manuscript. Also, this AI generated image and synthetic data, they are increasingly common these days, because using, if you're using Gemini Nano Banana, you can generate any fake image in just less than a minute's time. So because of this, the quality of publication is becoming questionable. However, the journals, as I said earlier, they are using tools, forensic tools, AI forensic tools, to detect such kind of AI generated images. So, with all this capability, debate quickly emerged whether an AI can be listed as a co-author. The International Committee of Medical Journal Editors and the Committee on Publication Ethics, they have issued a definitive, unified guidance. The answer for the question whether AI can be a co-author is absolutely no, because to be an author in a medical literature, you should be able to take legal, ethical, and clinical responsibility for the work. An algorithm, AI algorithm, cannot sign a conflict of interest form, it cannot hold a copyright, and it cannot be sued for malpractice if there is a fabricated data that is going to harm your patient. So the human guarantor is always required, and if AI cannot be listed as a co-author, and if your AI is hallucinating a data point, then the liability is entirely upon you, that is the human author. So how to use AI ethically in practice and for publication? You can use AI for language translation, refinement, for grammar polishing, and basic formatting. But you cannot use it for data generation. No, big no. You cannot use it for primary statistical analysis, and you cannot use it for original scientific ideation without human insight. The golden rule is that you can trust AI, but you should be careful about it, and you should verify each and everything carefully. Every word, every data point, and every citation are generated by AI must be human verified before submission. And of course, common recommendation is that AI should not be used for generation, rather a generation of the content. Rather, it can be used for language refinement and other purposes, not for primary generation of the whole manuscript itself. As we shift from what are the individual responsibilities, let us talk a few lines about the institutional editorial responsibilities. Institution also has a huge responsibility for making sure that AI is not misused, and for publication is being done ethically. So this IRC and IECs, or the research cells in every institute, should be able to provide confidential channels for ethical inquiries in case there is misconduct. They should be able to conduct impartial, evidence-based investigation into alleged misconduct, and they need to liaison transparently with the funding agencies and the journals. Also, the journal's responsibility does not end with publishing your paper. It extends far beyond that. Like if there is any concerns by the co-readers or the general public, then they can write a letter to editor for a scientific debate. They can be writing an expression of concern when serious investigations are ongoing but inconclusive. And the journal can also retract if they found that there is fundamentally flawed, fabricated, or unethical research. We should always bear in mind that retraction is not a failure of the scientific method, but it is a proof that science, a whole system, is working properly. So retraction is, of course, not a bad thing at all. It is definitely essential to maintain the integrity in this research world. So to cultivate a culture of integrity, we must move towards a proactive prevention instead of institute ethics committee should not come into practice when a problem is happening. They should be rather focusing on preventing the issues before it happens. So how to do it? We can mandate the pre-registration of trial protocols like in clinicaltrials.gov, and then we can mandate for available for making the data sets available and accessible for independent verification. And also based on the credit rules, we can ensure that the authorship agreements are being made in the early part of the study, so that an authorship conflict does not arise in the later part. And also continuous ethics training like this program, which is run by the Commonwealth Medical Association, is all an wonderful effort towards cultivating a culture of integrity in research. So the take home message from my session is that before you're submitting any article to the journal, make sure that you verify the authorship. Ask the question, as every author in this study, do they meet the ICMJE criteria, the four criterias? And then do they have a defined role according to the credit taxonomy? You ask this question first. Secondly, you ask this question whether you have disclosed all the financial and non-financial conflicts of interest properly. This is the second question you should ask. And also make sure that you are not losing your valuable work to predatory or cloned journal. Make sure that you verify the journal's authenticity by cross-checking against the database and accessing the journal's website through any reputed database like PubMed. And also make sure that if you're using AI for any reason, then make sure that every piece of AI assisted text has been human verified. And also you properly disclose the use of AI, including what tool you use, which version you use. All this you should properly disclose. So these are my references. I would like to conclude by saying that protecting the literature is not only you're doing things out of academic interest, but it is protecting the patient, and in larger sense, you are protecting the whole public health and global health. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation. I once again thank Professor Dr. Jailal sir, all the leaders of Commonwealth, and our previous speakers for giving me such a wonderful experience. I'm open if there is any question. I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, Dr. Venkatesh. So this is Dr. Ibrahim. I'm a surgical oncologist. So you mentioned
Yes, sir.
about the various pros and cons of publications, the term publish or perish, which has caused so many pollution in the research side. So I think the continuous pressure on students and new doctors to publish something, whether they are interested, whether they do it or not, has added so much burden on the already existing, and the purification of the data now is a big mess now. So I wanted you to highlight what will be the effect of this pollution of this research material on the new doctors or the younger generations, how they will be able to identify this research article is a pure one and this is a contaminated one. How we can help the younger doctors to identify the genuine articles.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for highlighting this, sir. First, let me answer this in two parts. First is what is the effect of it, and second, I'll answer how to identify. First, the effect. You may think that okay, somebody is publishing some fake data. How it is going to matter? I'm not going to even refer to that article because I will always refer PubMed Index, good journals only. But the thing is that if this published findings is getting into some systematic review or meta-analysis by mistake, then it is going to skew the data, and it is going to give a false results, which again is going to impact the clinical guidelines and ultimately the patient care. Secondly, if you want an answer regarding how a young researcher or a medical student can identify which is a good study, of course, sir, we can, to a safer extent, we can assume that if something is published in a PubMed Index journal, it is usually of good quality. Not necessarily always, but mostly if something is published in PubMed, it is of good quality. And also, if you want to refine further, then we can try to see the impact factor of the journals in which it is published. If some journal is having an impact factor of more than 5, then it is usually an excellent journal. If they are having an impact factor of 3 and above, it is fine. Then it means it's likely that the journal would have considered all the factors like data manipulation, authenticity of data, the robustness of statistical analysis, how good the methodology is. All this will be already screened by the journal team, including the peer reviewer team. So usually, if it is published in a good journal which is indexed and PubMed, then we can be pretty confident that it is a good article. I hope it answers your question, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Venkatesh.
Good evening, sir.
Excellent presentation. Congratulations. It's really
Thank you.
out of the world. And coming from a JDN representative, national, now international figure.
Thank you so much.
This is very much necessary in all academic institutions. How do you plan as a now a post-student leader and now a international leader for the students? How do you plan to, because you've written in that we must integrate this persistently in all academic institutions for the benefit of the faculty who have compulsory, they have to compulsorily present publications every year for their promotions, and also for the PG students. How do you plan? How will you suggest? And what is your plan?
Sir, can you please repeat the question? What is the plan for involving?
Integrating this in academic institutions for the benefit of
Okay.
PG
Sir,
students, and making basically is regarding the institutional responsibilities for the benefit of the faculty and students, so that we can get more better publications.
okay. Thank you so much, sir. So for this question, so initially, to answer this, we have a basic course in. I mean, we have a basic course for biomedical research by the Indian Council of Medical Research, which is already mandatory for postgraduates to. I mean, it's already mandatory for faculty portion. I'm not sure whether it is mandatory for postgraduates. So that course is a free course which you can always attend to know what are the best practices with regards to research and publication. Apart from that, BMJ offers a free course which you can use in order to gain more knowledge. With regards to our institute specifically, what we are doing is that for MBBS students, we have an exclusive 30-day posting in their second year MBBS, which is for a research methodology. I mean, which is a research posting. So we teach the students right from the beginning about the basics of research, and then we ask the student to frame a research question, and then we developed a protocol. We collect the data in a span of 4 5 days, and at the end of 1 month, the student is able to present his whole study after data collection. In the whole process, we are teaching them what are the ethical practices related to research and how to improve the methodology. All this we teach for MBBS levels, sir. And also in our institute, what we do is like for postgraduates as well, we conduct research foundation course, which is a 3-day course we conduct in the beginning of the post-graduation ones, and at the end of the post-graduation, that's 6 months before post-graduation completion, we conduct the courses. So such kind of courses which may already be existing in many colleges, but we need to add few more components related to ethics. We could see NMC has mandated this EdCom modules. So these kind of things are already on paper. Ethical practices not only in clinics but also in research and publication. We need to integrate these aspects right from the foundational year right from the founded, and and we should also help them identify from where they can learn more about it, like the BMG course I said, like the ICMR courses. We should help them identify these resources so that they become better researchers and ethical researchers. Thank you. And of course, in IMA, we conduct IMA JDN, we conduct such kind of research methodology courses. We have initiated and we are conducting it as well.
Thank you. I wish
Thank
you
you, sir.
all the best to see that all over India, this whatever you plan to should be implemented at the earliest.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I had another question for Dr. Vivek Madi, sir. I'm a student, old student. I left it
As
in the chat box, sir.
oh, I didn't see it. Can you repeat the question? Can you just?
Yeah, I'll just read it again.
Yeah, nowadays it is very frequently being observed that the new generation budding doctors are not much aware of healthcare laws and medical professionalism. Rather, they are extremely careless and ignorant of them. We are observing this due to the inflating number of medical negligence cases, more so due to ill behavior and minimal communication with patients. Very poor record maintenance and documentation. How can we at a large scale through such platforms, both physically and online, create maximum awareness rather than seriousness about against our present learned teachers and budding generation in order to try to onset an aggressive and long-term campaign against our doctors fraternity all over the country. Can CMA, UNESCO, and NMC collaborate together to answer this large scale or either in other ways? Yes, I agree with you. But basically, the NMC itself has brought in ethics in the curriculum. See, when we all studied, we didn't have ethics in the curriculum. So therefore, from 2019 onwards, ethics has come into the curriculum, and they are taught in the undergraduate level itself. So many things about communication, documentation, all that is already they are being aware. It is just right now, we need to bring those people who are passed before 2019 aware. People after 2019 are well aware about ethics now. So that's not the problem. The problem is people who are passed before 2019 are not aware about ethics. So, that's what I would say. So for them, yes, like us, associations and people, medical fraternity should come together and give talks and bring awareness. That's the only way. Associations should do it. And every state association should work together to bring in ethics. Every student who has passed out from this courses should form their own association and talk like you. You are from Pune, I don't know. So therefore, around that area, you should be able to, I think Thane, right? Pune, Thane, that belt you can look after, by bringing efforts on ethical awareness programs.
I'm from Kolhapur, sir, South
Kolhapur,
Maharashtra,
yeah.
South
Yeah.
region.
That's so that
I'm
way.
doing
So
I'm
that
doing
way.
it at this level, trying at this
Yes.
level, but this is a very big problem because NMC everything is on paper. But whatever work you are
But
doing through CMA, IMA, or other like JD and whatever Venkatesh also have been doing, these bodies if they come together,
yeah, but
fraternity.
more so people who are learning right now, they should,
Yes,
bring it awareness among the friends and think that yes, ethical practice is necessary.
yes, yes.
Reaching, say,
Yes.
like today, we are able to reach out 60 people. So there are 60 participants or whatever it is. So that's a very small number when each of the 60% can go around and talk to other people and bring in awareness. So everybody should talk about this problem. Yes, because one way or the other, it's going to affect everybody.
Yeah.
The YouTube channels are working 10 times faster than all of us can work. So, YouTube giving negative news about doctors. Everybody
Yes.
wants to learn negative news, not positive news. Very difficult to give positive news. And negative news, something going wrong, something bad, that's picked up by people. Social media is working 10 times faster. So for that, we have to also do our bit.
I am in process, sir. Through our Maharashtra state, now I am the chairman of the bioethics committee. They have
Yeah,
formulated the committee because I have done this course under you, the
yeah.
our
Thank you. So
bioethics course.
that's what I would
But
like to hear more
we,
and more people, uh, you know, doing good.
I want to start it, at least take you around, some of you people, dignitaries, to colleges over here and try and create some awareness by doing such programs with them,
Thank you.
interaction
Sure.
programs with them. We'll let you know, sir. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you, sir.
Sanish. Happy to come to Kolhapur. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So if there is nothing else, shall we conclude the session? It's 5 o'clock exact. So thank you for all the participants and
Thank
hope
you,
to
sir.
meet you
Thank
at
you.
Kanyakumari. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Good day.
Venkatesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you all.
Good day, sir.
Thank you. Bye.